Here are 3 watches that I would never wear. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here. Homage watches. There's nothing worse than wearing a Homage watch and having someone misidentify it. You know, you put on that Invicta green that looks like a Hulk, you're walking around, someone goes, oh my gosh, is that a Hulk you're wearing? And you have to tell them, no, it's an Invicta. Kinda loses that connection you have with someone talking. I know there's a lot of brands that were built off of that, and we got a lot of controversy with even people saying, oh, the Submariner, the Rolex Submariner is Homage, right? But in my opinion, if a company cannot create its own design and simply does a copy and paste, then you're missing a whole part of the reason you buy a watch, right? Having a Homage, not the greatest thing to wear. I understand it's a great entry, and a lot of people get that before they buy the watch that they want, but I'll tell you this, if you buy that Pepsi bezel thinking it'll help scratch that itch that you don't actually need to go get the Rolex GMT, it's never gonna work. You are always gonna pine for the real thing. And I've had people talk to me about that where they've bought this level, then they bought this level, and they finally got to that model. It really doesn't scratch the itch. Buying a Homage will just simply mute it for a little bit. One brand when it comes to Homage watches is that Pangini design. I really dislike it because design is in their brand name, and yet they haven't really designed anything. They seriously look at what's going on. Let me copy Rolex. Let me copy another model. And they just basically copy and paste. Now I know there's other people out there who are big fans of Steinhardt and others. Yes, there's a lot of them that do a very good, high quality version of a dive watch. I just like to have a little bit of flavor, and everything can have a slight flavor to it, right? If you have something unique to the watch, that's what matters to me. I just want to have them have done some type of design that's unique rather than straight up copy. Next up is straight up fashion watches. Now I'm talking about your Diesels, I'm talking about your Armanis, right? It's basically a clothing brand that makes its own watch. These are usually cheap manufactured watches that are not very well done, and the only reason they're out there is to put that brand logo on the dial. It doesn't usually have a lot of style, it doesn't even usually tie into the brand all that well, and it's not something that watch collectors usually purchase. It's not something that you're actually going to use as a watch collector or keep in your collection. So Diesel watches, right? They got these enormous, humongous, and I get it, that people like the kind of crazy wild style, but it really is just cheaply manufactured watch. Usually they're just gonna be a basic quartz. Doesn't have a lot going on with it, and the reason you bought it was because you're at the Diesel store. Same goes with Armani. Armani watches really don't have a lot going on with them. They're just basic, cheap watches that someone who loves the Armani brand says, oh, I'm gonna buy a watch. Now, the one that gets people really angry, smartwatches. If you're wearing that Apple Watch and you're talking to someone in the meeting, suddenly this thing beeps, you divert your attention, come down, scroll, who is that? That is the most annoying thing to me. I find Apple Watches, smartwatches, is a distraction. They are a conversation distraction. Why do we have watches? Because they're conversation pieces, right? We wanna have a piece, capture the attention of someone and have a conversation about it. Understandable, you want to wear your smartwatch when you're exercising in the gym, when you're running a marathon, but if you're wearing it with a suit, it looks a little silly. One of our co-founders, Zach Swatowski, gave me this example of a smartwatch. He had just had a long week, he was traveling, he was coming back home. He got on the airplane, sat down, was about to get a bourbon, and his watch buzzed, it's time to step up and walk around. That is exactly what I mean. It's an absolute distraction. And to see people flipping through their watches, I've never seen anybody wearing their smartwatch that when they check the time. They check the time, they do something else. And it pulls you away from that conversation, and that's not something you want to do when you're having face-to-face communication. And if you want to see some watch rules that are good for beginners, watch this video.